Crazy Joe, but now they can call me Batman.
What up? Welcome back to the Necro Zoo. I am Bone.
Look at his traps.
And in this one, let's go ahead and add one more figure to my McFarlane DC Multiverse collection. Now today we will take a look at Ambush Bug. Now I did pick this one up from the McFarlane toy store, but I do have two pre-ordered from Target that I did pick up for $16 each. So while I wait for those, I'm pretty happy to take a first look at this guy. Now he does look pretty delusional in the packaging, but let's go ahead and take a closer look at him. But first, he does come with your standard black DC Multiverse stand. Now, of course, these are not really needed, but sometimes they do come in useful. He also comes with his data file card. On the front, you have an image from the comics. Pretty standard Ambush Bug image. Now, Erwin Schwab, I have heard of this character before. The years that I was really into comics was the late 80s. And I do remember him, you know, in the recesses of my mind. I remember hearing about Ambush Bug. I thought he was a very comical and more like, you know, a fun character. But he does have a very innocuous personality, and that is that he seems very unassuming, like he doesn't seem dangerous, but he is one of the more powerful characters in the DC Multiverse. Now, I do know a little bit about him. I know that he found his costume, I think, in the trash, but he put it on and he figured out it gave him some sort of abilities, teleporting, resistance to damage. And in future incarnations, it was no longer alien technology. It just became a part of him. Now, this allows him to move freely throughout time and space, which makes him very powerful, very hard to pin down. And he's gone through being in many different teams, different storylines. And although at first he was a sort of villain, he found out very quickly that it really sucked getting beat up by Batman and Superman. Now, he is one of the first characters in comics to break the fourth wall. Even before She-Hulk was doing her thing, even way before Deadpool, this guy was breaking the fourth wall, making him a very unique and interesting character. Now, I also mainly remember him from the Batman Brave and the Bold. I think in the final episodes, Ambush Bug played a big part in that. And that kind of put him back into my radar after years of not hearing about him. So all in all, a very obscure and kooky character. Some of the things I really love from McFarlane's DC Multiverse. Now on the back, you do have some information. Kind of breaks down what I talked about, but we'll hold on to this. Now he does come with an alternate hand, which is a fist. Pretty interesting the way they packaged this. It was just in a baggie tacked on to the backing board, which was kind of weird, but I'm happy to have at least one alternate hand for him. And even better than that, you do get his little sidekick, which was Cheeks, the toy wonder. This really does ring a bell to me. And looking at older comics, I kind of remember him, you know, dragging this guy around and even putting him in danger. I think I think he even like sacrificed himself, which is pretty funny. And Ambush Bug really never got over that. But this is something that I really enjoy from McFarlane. Things that you would never think to even see in figure form. And now we do have a little Cheeks, you know, accessory. And I'll be holding on to this. It's going to be one of my favorite new little things. Now that's basically it for the accessories. But let's go ahead and take a closer look at this guy Right off the bat, first impressions, I am a big fan of this body book. This is the John Kent body book. It has gone through many figures that have become some of my favorite figures, like Impulse, Flashpoint Superman, and Jim Gordon as Batman. So, big fan of this body book. Not, but I'm not mad at all that they reused it. And although there's different versions of Ambush Bug in the comics, he could be slightly out of shape or really thin. This guy has more of a leaner, muscular physique, but it does work well as a figure that you never thought you would add to your collection. Really like the green. It catches that sort of really light highlighter green from the comics of the costume. I think they did a good job in that. And far from being disappointing, I'm really pleased with the way this figure came out. Of course, there's going to be things I really love, and then there's going to be little things that I do not like. But all in all, it is a great release from McFarlane. Take a look at that head sculpt, jumping out of the pages of the comics. In fact, this is one time it really does look exactly as the way it does on the card or on the back of the packaging. They really just brought that image to life in figure form. But I do love that head sculpt. Love the way they added the little ears and all the little details. You do have his antennae here. They're kind of stiff. I would be a little bit, scared of damaging these, but I'm sure you could heat them up and put them in different poses if you want to get, like one standing up and one curled. That is probably a possibility. Another little detail, like the wrinkles at the top of the scalp, because this is like a whole body suit that he wears, so there should be a little bit of slight wrinkles and little details like that. So really happy with the head sculpt. Looks good. He can look down very well. Looks up amazingly. Awesome for this figure. You got right to left. And of course, you could tilt the head for some kooky attitude. Really happy with the head sculpt. They really knocked it out of the park with this very rare character that I'm not even sure we've ever seen this in figure form. Take a look at the waist articulation. You do have nice side to side, very smooth. You have that full tilt-a-whirl at the waist. You got a lower waist swivel, upper chest swivel, so you could twist them, get them in some action poses. Now, as far as forward crunch, he does have a really more generous forward crunch than a lot of the figures that have used this buck. Really has a nice forward crunch. You can add a little bit more by modding it, but for right now, it seems pretty good. Of course, he could lean back. And then another thing is, I kind of like the way they shaped the trunks. At first, it could be a little bit off-putting because of the excess plastic, but I think what they're really going for is that when you twist them and bend them, this is kind of supposed to cover that oblique part of his waist. So it does work when you tilt him and put him on his side, giving you a little bit more coverage and covering up the gap between the torso and the waist. So I'm going to leave this one like that for now. I really like the way it gives it a clean line. It doesn't have any separation at the waist. Let's take a look at the shoulder joint. Of course, you have that awesome socket and bushing shoulder joint, which gives you a lot of range and movement. You have some up and down, some front to back, smooth bicep swivel, and of course, double jointed elbows. Look very good. Now going down from the shoulder, you just got a plain bodysuit. There's no lines. And this kind of does draw attention. He still has the collar around the neck, which is something that they have not removed since the John Kent body. I think Teen Titans Nightwing is the only one that doesn't have that cut. That is one of the things I'm not happy about. It's just one of those things you have to look past. All in all, together, it does have a nice, clean look. I just wish it didn't have that, neck cut. But the suit does go all the way down to the wrist. And of course, you have the 4 ways of articulation at the wrist from McFarlane. On the other side, you do have an open sort of gesturing hand, which is nice. T-pose, pretty smoothly. Arms go above the head, awesome. All in all, great figure. You can see he's going to be really fun to pose with and have a lot of cool figure photography that comes out of this ambush bug. Let's take a look at the lower body. Now, he does have really good thigh swivel. You're getting a lot of movement out of there from side to side, which means you can twist his foot by moving that thigh swivel, and you do not need a thigh cut. Now, he can kick up pretty high. I've seen a lot of people say, he only kicks this high because of the trunks. But as we know, you can kick higher. The trunks are going to flex. They're not going to get damaged. And just in the way when you kick back, they move out of the way to allow you to give you that range. And when you put them back, they eventually go back to their original shape. And they give you tons of added articulation. Now, he does have that McFarlane thigh swivel, double jointed knees, straighten them out, up and down at the ankle, right to left, rocker, and of course, toe articulation. Now, before we go, let's take a look at the lower body. A couple of things. First of all, I really like that they made a clean sculpt for the calf. No longer are you going to have that John Kent original design where it had like a little bit of line work here, a little bit of sculpt design in the calf. Now we do have a clean calf that could be used for future figures. Not sure how I feel about the boots. I mean, they're supposed to be just like a costume, sort of like a pajama bottom. So I really think they might have been able to use the Plastic Man feet, because you could see the feet through the plastic, but they're like one mold. I don't know if that makes sense, which would make it more comic accurate, but it's not that big of a deal. I do like the shape of them, even though if you look at him from the bottom, he does have soles there with some identifying marks. Looking up the back, nice clean sculpt going up into that bug butt and into the back. Another thing, they did leave the line from the John Kent suit. Another little detail that, not a big fan of, but it doesn't, kill it for me. It's still a great figure. Really happy to have this guy. So all in all, great figure, really fun. I can see tons of possibilities for posing and of course taking pics with this guy. Really awesome, having some fun, which is what this, really is all about, is having some fun and figures that become very effective, where you just cannot put them down. Now, of course, you can have them holding cheeks, different possibilities of posing and taking photos with them, which is always awesome. You can pop off that gripping hand and add the fist, which opens up the ways you can pose him and give him some emotion. Pretty nice. Now, of course, you know me, I had to look for some way to add my own little detail for this guy, and what I ended up doing was making him an alternate thumbs up right hand. Now, I did get this from the Jim Gordon as Batman Platinum version, which is like a really light blue, but it was a little bit difficult to match that green color, sort of a Lima Limon green, but I was able to get it pretty close in the end, adding him a little bit more of that fun factor that comes with having an ambush bug figure. I'm very surprised to say I'm really happy with this figure. Gonna let it soak in and marinate a little bit and see just how much I really enjoy him. But he may just crack that top 10 favorite figures of the year. Not too high on the list, but he may just break it into that top 10. But anyways, he should be hitting stores very soon. Get him. Very obscure character. I never thought we would see him in figure form, but here he is. But you guys, keep hunting out there. Keep collecting. Keep customizing. And I will see you on the next one.
They used to call me Crazy Joe, but now they can call me Batman.